First time in 5 years, WWE Premium Live event coming back to Pittsburgh this Labor Day weekend, a Saturday, September 2nd. It will be Payback, and one of the talent you might be seeing on the Payback card is my guest at this time. He is Karrion Kross. Kross, thanks for taking the time, and I want to start with one of the first things that we see with you, which is that entrance. Nothing else like it on Raw or SmackDown. We first saw it in NXT. You've kept with it, which I'm very happy to see. Talk to me about the origins of it. Was it a collaboration? There's a lot of camera cues. There's sound, hits to go with it, sound cues, black and white to color. Talk to me about the origins, how this all came together, because I think it's a huge part of your presentation.
Thank you. It's funny, a lot of people will always refer to it as something, it is something specific to Scarlet Knight. It's not so much for me, more so as it's for the audience. And I think to kind of elaborate on that, something that's fun to watch in the programming is variety. WWE's always known to have a variety of different types of larger-than-life characters and having your signature things and stuff like that. And my first initial approach to watching NXT was, what can we do that no one else is doing? What's something different that we can bring into the programming that will be fun to watch, something that's interesting, something that feels different. And, an entrance is a perfect time to do something like that. So initially when I got on board with the company, I was pitching creative concepts to Hunter. Initially I had the Red X. I had always had a Red X that was sort of a play on words for a cross. Obviously someone else had a Red X. So we needed to come up with some other type of emblem or design or something like that. So I had sent him a variety of pitches, some concept art that we could do for t-shirts or merchandise or something like that of a bird, and trying to use like a silhouette, so to kind of go in that direction. And then he took that and then put that into the graphics in the beginning of the entrance, and we were exchanging music back and forth. To no surprise, it was heavy metal. And we sent that up to the studios on what sort of vibe we were looking for. Hunter was really instrumental in helping us bring the character presentation to life, especially in a new way, in a bigger way than we've ever done before. And I guess the movement of behavioral patterns of when we enter into front of the camera, walk down to the ring and get in the ring, that was just something Scarlett and I put together. We've always had natural chemistry, professionally and in real life, shocking and eerie. And we just kind of put that together. We heard the song, and then we just began to move to the music and kind of had the general sense of where our cameras would be and how we could take advantage of those. And we practiced it a couple times, and I feel like we got it in the first try. I really do. We were at home when we heard the song. It was sent to us in a file. And we were like, oh my God, this is really, really cool. And so, in our living room, we were just like, hey, if these were the beats, and this is the distance we have to walk, and this is what we kind of want to do, let's put a framework together so when we get to work, we can expedite the process of being ready and having all this ready so everyone can move on to the next thing, which is exactly what we did. That's kind of how it all came together. That's the long, short version.
Kross, that quote is all great. I'm going to be able to use it for print. You were crackling in and out, and I know Greg just said the same thing. It sounds staticky. Can you check real quick before I ask you another question? Can you just check your audio settings, see if there's a...
Sure.
Sorry, but I didn't want to stop you because the quote will be great for print, but it is real crackly. I don't know why.
I don't know what I would check.
At the bottom there, if you see settings, and then it should bring up an audio. Maybe, I don't know if you have any other... So now it just stopped.
I just opened up audio.
Okay.
Echo cancellation, automatic mic volume adjustment.
And now it's back again. It's so weird. Because your signal's perfectly fine. Your picture's crystal clear.
Give me one. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to switch phones to make sure we have this perfect. You're not short on time, are you?
I'm not, but I just didn't want to hold you up.
Don't go anywhere, please. Let me switch phones to make sure.
Okay.
going to send this link to this other phone. We're
Okay.
going to jump on immediately. So stand by 1 sec.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yes.
Any better?
Let's try this.
This is a completely different phone.
So far, so good.
Okay.
Yeah, it was weird. Even when you left the room for a minute on the other phone, there was still like a crackling sound. It was random. I don't know.
That's unusual. I apologize about that. I don't know what that is.
No, it's okay. You sound and look great now. Would you hate me if we just start from the top again?
No, that's fine.
Is that okay? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. First time in 5 years, WWE Premium Live event coming to Pittsburgh this September 2nd, Saturday on Labor Day weekend. It will be Payback. And perhaps one of the talents we'll be seeing at Payback is my guest, Karrion Kross. Kross, the first thing I want to talk to you about is the first thing we see with you. It is a very unique presentation. It is your entrance. A lot of camera cuts, a lot of sound cues, color, black and white, Scarlet singing. Talk to me about the origins of it. Was it a collaborative process and how we got what I think is a huge part of your presentation?
Initially, when I got on board with the company, we obviously changed the name of the character that I was playing from Killer Kross to Karrion Kross. Prior to that, when I was working as Killer Kross, I used a red X as an emblem. It was sort of a play on words. It was a red cross essentially. Obviously, someone else was using the red X in the company, so we wanted to go with something different. So I'd sent a variety of different concept art pictures to Hunter, and one of them was a silhouette of a bird, which was kind of a play on Karrion. So he ran with that and he superimposed that into the entrance graphics. And we had discussed what sort of vibe the music was going to be in. And we both decided it was going to be metal. So we exchanged tracks back and forth of what we kind of wanted to create from. I sent it over to the studios. We got the music. They sent it to our phones. We were at home at the time, and we kind of practiced and rehearsed the entrance in our living room with beats and distance to walk and so forth. So when we got to work, we would kind of be able to expedite the whole process. But more than that, when we were looking at NXT and we were looking at WWE, I think one of the best parts about the programming is the ability for it to have variety with character presentations. So things don't feel redundant or monotonous segment to segment. And we were trying to think of something that we could contribute to the show that would feel different. And right off the top, doing it at the entrance, I think, was probably the best strategic way to do that. So when we got to NXT and we had to do the walk, we already had a framework that we had come up with. So we got through that process really quick. And I'm pretty sure we actually knocked it out on the first try. And then we just did it a few more times just to make sure that we were getting the best camera shots and so forth. So Hunter was very instrumental in helping us bring that to life. And Scarlett and I have excellent chemistry. So it was a no-brainer.
Well, it's definitely it's one of those entrances you want to see on the biggest stage possible. You know, it's got so much energy to it. You mentioned Triple H several times, in that explanation. Talk to me about the relationship with him. Again, it sounds very collaborative. Sounds like you guys have some good working synergy. What's that been like both on the NXT level and then now on the main roster level?
Well, when we were at NXT, Hunter was involved with basically like everything from like top to bottom. He was working with all the talents, and he was super hands-on, and time afforded him to be, as opposed to now where he's wearing many hats. You know, he's sitting in the chair right now. So he was really accessible. So was Shawn Michaels. The whole crew was, and it was just a really cool environment to be a part of, to be involved in at that time. You know, you're creating your initial identity that the WWE universe would remember you for moving forward throughout your whole career. Up on main roster, he's still available, and he's still involved as much as he's able to be. And he's just a very personable person, professional but personable, and he's always available for advice and help and so forth. So.
Define the Karrion Kross character, because a lot of times in pro wrestling, it's we hear in the biographies and such, it's the talent and they're cranked up to 11. But I don't know. I don't know. You are so calm, and I mean the Karrion Kross character so intense. You right now are so calm, articulate, well spoken. Is Karrion Kross you to an 11, or is it a Jekyll and Hyde? Give me the definition of what Karrion Kross is.
I've never thought about it. I've never thought about Karrion Kross being me up to 11. Maybe some people who know me really well would argue that. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe I'm completely unaware of it. My whole approach to it is, and has always been, WWE is a place with characters that are larger than life. And, there's an opportunity to be yourself and turn up to 11. But if I'm being entirely honest, I think over the span of our lives, we are constantly figuring out and finding out who we are. And the moment we think we know who we are, something happens and we find out that we're not the way that we thought we were. So I've always thought it was a bit egocentric to try to tell people this is exactly who you are and how you are, but turned up to 11. Because I can tell you, there's a lot of people that think they're one way and they're really not. So I'll just leave it at that. But my approach to this was more of a Shakespearean type approach to it, where with Undertaker and Gangrel and Kane, and not to compare myself to them, but like they took a different approach. I don't think they really played their characters as themselves, turned up to 11. And I think there's an excellent opportunity within the WWE universe to show people something that they can't find somewhere else. You can find a loudmouth anywhere. You can find a loudmouth in traffic. You can find a loudmouth at the gas station. You can't find these types of characters, or let's say perhaps a Karrion Kross walking your dog. The only place you're going to be able to find a larger-than-life character like that is with WWE, and that was kind of the direction that I wanted to go with that. I wanted to give something to people that they couldn't find somewhere else. Like I remember being a kid in the audience, and watching these giant guys walk down to the ring and with the pageantry type entrances and stuff like that. You never forget that. I wanted to create something that was going to appeal to all age demographics as well. That was the other thing too. I meet kids all the time that talk about the entrance and talk about the character and stuff like that. Stuff like that makes my day because I was that kid once, you know, and to be able to create those moments that they're never going to forget for the rest of their lives, especially at live events, that's everything to me. I love that.
Do you remember as a kid your first WWE event? When and where?
Yes. So I wouldn't be able to tell you what year it was, but I can tell you the time. It was WWE New York Civic Center, and it was a live show. And Bret Hart fought Owen Hart in a steel cage match on the live show. And I remember one spot where Owen was getting out, and Bret grabbed him. He reached over the top of the cage and he grabbed his brother by the hair. And Owen was hanging on to him, and then he let his hands go, and Bret was hanging him off the top of the cage by his hair. The Undertaker was also being managed by Ted DiBiase at the time, and he tombstoned this guy like 3 times. It was a local guy, and he put him in the body bag. I don't know if you remember all that stuff.
It sounds like this would have been summer of '94, leading up to it was the fake Undertaker probably at that point. And of course, Bret and Owen had the cage match at SummerSlam. So I'm thinking probably summer of '94.
Yeah, it was such an awesome show, man. It was so cool. It was so mind blowing. I couldn't believe I was there. So.
That's good. You have those memories. You mentioned manage, and that's something I don't know if I would refer to Scarlett as a manager, manager, valet, these classic pro wrestling terms, but just to say, she is rare in today's WWE. Is that we don't see as many talent having somebody accompanied to the ring. I think it's a really cool accessory, a really cool, again, part of the presentation. I guess both personally and professionally. Talk to me about that. Talk to me about having her out there with you.
Well, prior to WWE, we were doing intergender tags for, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 months. Prior to that, we had our own success that we found individually as independent performers. And that we worked for a couple companies that just wanted to put us together. They just wanted to try it and see what it was like. We wound up meeting, and here we are. But professionally, when we got to WWE, she was hired a couple months before I was. And during the initial conversations about they were asking me what I wanted to do and what I thought would work. And again, just coming from the place of trying to give people something original and something different, I had basically wrote up sort of like almost like a case study of how these characters psychologically would work. And I sent that into creative and over to Hunter. And I said, I think this would be something different. And I loved, even though it was short-lived, I loved Rick Rude and Medusa. I thought they were awesome together. We're very different than that, but just that sort of energy. Shawn Michaels and Sherry, Bam Bam and Luna. We loved all that stuff. She's a big fan of Luna and Sherry and Medusa, which would surprise nobody, I'm sure, at this point. But I wanted to create something in that lane and obviously bring in sort of that esoteric, dark, creepy stuff that we were doing. We started playing with that lane actually in AAW. We'd worked there together. That's an independent company in Chicago for anyone who's unaware. And they had a gentleman there on their digital who really understood what we were doing. And we had lots of conversations to bring that stuff to life. And that was sort of a general premise that I used moving forward to kind of showcase to people, this is some work that I've done independently. And I think if we create from that place and we plug this into a world machine, I think people would really enjoy it. So her and I always kind of think when we're putting stuff together, very much like you said, she's not exactly a manager, but sort of is. She's a lot more capable than a manager, but from a character standpoint, she's also maybe a dark spiritual consultant. We kind of play in those lanes because no one else is there. So why not do something that is not going to look or feel like anything else, right?
Yeah, you guys are. You're right. You're in your own lane. You have an intensity and a darkness, but you're not, at least not yet, using superpowers and throwing lightning bolts or anything. So I'll be really curious to see the evolution of the Cross and Scarlet characters and presentation. Big thanks for the time, Karrion Kross. Again, September 2nd, Saturday, Labor Day weekend, a long weekend. Enjoy it as WWE Premium Live event Payback will be here in Pittsburgh at the PPG Paints Arena.